Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Friendly Fire, show dedicated to libertarian candidates. Today, Tommy Brown III is here to discuss his 2022 race for Washington County Commissioner in Indiana. Let's get to it.
Being an activist, but what do you say to your critics?
Again, you're being an activist. I am
That's not appropriate, sir.
Who are you with? What's your name?
That's not an appropriate question for you to ask.
You're going to ask how many questions? You get 3?
You're a stupid son of a bitch.
All right. Good morning. And that was the wrong intro. You probably didn't know that until I told you, but that's all right. I might have to have a little talk with the producer, this guy. At any rate, we're going to have Tommy Brown III come on, and we're going to talk about his run last year for county commissioner. So what I'm doing, just to kind of brief everybody and what's going on, he's no longer running. The election is over. But now what we want to do is we want to bring candidates back on and talk about their run so that you, the viewer, can get an idea of the things that they need in order to be successful. And so we're going to be talking about some of the good things that happen and some of the bad things that happen. And this will give everybody an idea of how we can better support candidates in the future. And then we'll also talk about any future goals that he has. So let's bring Tommy Brown on. Tommy, how are you?
Pretty good, man. I'm up and moving around. A little slow this morning, but I'm up and moving, buddy.
You know, I think I may have to reevaluate this whole idea of 7:30 in the morning.
Well, that wasn't the problem. It was just me this morning.
Right, I got you. So I keep wondering about myself. I'm like, wait a minute, seriously, 7:30? Like, why would you do that to yourself? So, but here we are, and we're doing it. So let's get to it. So we didn't get a chance to get you on before the election. So anybody that's been watching the show is not really familiar with you unless they're out of Indiana. So kind of give an idea. We'll kind of start at the beginning a little bit where we might have in that show and just kind of talk about what got you into running for a county commissioner and kind of your experience at the lead up in the very beginning.
Well, in 2018, our county commissioners decided that life was too short to not raise property taxes on anybody when they built the new jail.
Mm-hmm.
So I was at that time running for county council, and the guy that I ran against last year basically made the statement that, it didn't matter what we done, we wasn't going to stop it.
Mm-hmm.
So I entered that race. What people need to understand is Washington County is only a county of about 28,000 people. It's barely over 28,000.
Okay.
We have a bond debt of almost 70 million. Most of that was due to building the new jail. They done it on a bond loan. Property taxes went up. My opponent last year had some other questionable actions that he had done. He verbally downgraded a fellow county government official over a listing for the American Renewal Project money. Now there is, to my knowledge, there is no formal list of who asked for money out of the ARP money now. So there was just some things that he done that I didn't like, our local party didn't like, and I decided to jump, head first into it.
Right. Looking back, do you think that was a good idea?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Okay. Because politics can be rough.
And believe me, DL, it was rough. It was not an easy campaign. Some people would say, well, everybody in Washington County, you probably know each other. I don't make a difference. They still make it, the two parties make it hard on a third party candidate.
What kind of things did they do to make it hard, or were already in place to make it difficult?
Well, for one, in Indiana, we have straight ticket voting still. We're still a dinosaur in this republic.
Mhm.
Straight ticket voting just absolutely murders you as a libertarian.
Right.
In my 2018 run, I pulled just a hair over 20%.
Mhm.
Last year, I pulled 12.9,
Mm.
and it was all because of straight ticket voting.
Gotcha.
For some reason, people in this area believed that if they voted straight ticket in little 28,000 populous Washington County, that would send a message to Joe Biden.
Gotcha.
If you figure that logic out, you let me know about it, because
Right.
I'm still scratching my head.
Well, I think that's actually a good insight because you're talking about an area that is not very populous. We're not talking like millions of people. You said, what would you say, 28,000 people?
Yeah,
So you got about 28,000 people, and people went to the polls, and your race was a local race. Yet people were trying to send a message to apparently the Democrat Party as a whole. And this kind of flies in the face of all the talk that we hear about, "Oh, man, we wish there was a third party. If there was only a third party, why things could be a little bit better." And then you see that people go to the polls and they just vote straight ticket all the way down. And how does that really, so I think that's something good that libertarian candidates can start thinking about and saying, all right, how do we reconcile what people are saying and what people are doing? Right. And it's a challenge for us. But let's keep going. Let's talk about so anything good or interesting happen that in your race that you're like, man, this was this was definitely a zinger or something along that line?
yeah. Actually, there was a lot of good things that come out of that race. Our county party went to our county fair. We had a booth
Hmm.
every night. I done a live video from the fair,
Okay.
and I tell you what, DL, that probably got me more attention
Hmm.
than going door to door and knocking, because
Okay.
people were like, wait a minute, we seen you on last night. You're here again? Yeah, I'm going to be here all 5 nights. My opponent pulled one night out of 5.
Right.
And when everything was said and done, I'm like, wait a minute. I pulled 5 nights at the fair, and he wins a split difference of 88% to 12%.
Hmm.
Something's not right.
Right.
The other good thing that come out is I really think my campaign woke people up in this county. They finally understood, hey, the libertarians are not a bunch of smoking, doping, whacked out form of the Republican Party. They are legitimate.
Right.
Uh, and the final thing that I think come out of that was good is myself and my opponent have actually become, I wouldn't say we're close friends, but
Hmm.
I would say that we're better friends than what we was.
Okay.
Uh, Todd had told me here about a month ago that if the opportunity came for me to be an asset to the county, he would not vote against it. So, that went a long way.
Gotcha. Okay. And when he says asset, what is that? What does he mean by that?
Well, they do. We have a lot of government appointed boards down here in Washington County.
Hmm.
And, Todd said he's got a couple in mind that are going to be coming down the road in the future. And, he liked the fact that I was open minded. He liked the fact that I ran him extremely clean. And, DL, I think that's sometimes we as libertarians, we forget to do what I
Hmm.
just said. We forget to run people clean. We want to
Right.
dig dirt. Well, don't do that, because in the long run, just like me, I'm going to get something out of that because I ran him clean. He's going to remember that.
Hmm.
I was open minded. I didn't, there was nothing negative. It was just, look, here's the facts. Here's what he's doing. Here's what I'll do. It's your choice.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. I think that's good. I agree. What kind of campaign things did you or uh, what were some of your talking points for the campaign?
Oh, wow. There was a bunch of them. I'll tell you. I'll just hit the major ones.
I know us libertarians have a lot.
Oh yeah, we do. We do. We have a laundry list, and that laundry list grows with every passing election. Yeah, you're right. My top one, of course, was the almost $70 million debt. You know,
Right.
we had to pay that down. Infrastructure reinvestment. Now, when I say reinvestment, I'm not talking about increasing taxes so I can get a kickback on the construction project. No, I
Right.
mean legitimately reinvesting into the
Right.
infrastructure to make sure that we are sound.
Gotcha.
Now, the third one, you're probably going to roll your eyes at me when I tell you what it was, because you're going to be like, really, at a local level, you were brave enough to tackle that? It was cybersecurity.
Okay.
2016, when John McAfee ran for president, he got
Mhm.
my attention with
Okay.
one phrase out of that debate. We were in a cyber war. And I'm like,
Okay.
what? No. Well, when I started digging, it's like, whoa, okay, this is heavy. You know, a small county like Washington County could literally be wiped out
Mhm.
with just one ransomware attack. And the average price back then for a ransomware was $640,000. Small communities can't face that.
Right.
And unfortunately, you have a mindset with people that don't understand cyber is, well, I can't see it, it doesn't affect me. Well, that's not the right way to view that.
Mhm. Okay. And were people receptive to that?
Believe it or not, yes, there was. I had probably two, maybe three people call me, be like,
Mhm.
hey, I've got a problem with my checking, or I've got a problem with my email. And you know, believe it or not, we was able to sit down and talk it out, be like, okay, look, this has happened, this has happened, you need to
Mhm.
call the bank, you need to change your password. And it wasn't so much having a policy that defended people, it's having
Mhm.
a policy that educates people.
Okay. Okay. And so, oh, caught me up. Sorry, I'm catching myself off guard. It's a little early in the morning, and clearly I need to have some more caffeine, but that's okay. Uh, uh, so, so shifting gears a little bit here. What, what? So it sounds like you had a good message, and it sounds like people were responsive to that message. And I like. So let me back up a little bit because I really did like this county fair idea. I used to live up in Indiana, up in Richmond, Indiana.
Mhm.
And so I know that within the city limits, knocking doors might make sense. But there's a lot of people that, live on the outskirts of town and, the houses are quite far apart, very rural areas. And it's not going to be very wise to necessarily go door knocking there because, it's going to take you a lot. You're going to cover a lot of ground and only have a few houses. So your time is going to be kind of just killed on that. And they do have county fairs where a lot of people go. I remember going to county fairs and just like that's where people went. So that was a great place to reach out to people. And then of course live streaming it. So I think that was, I encourage candidates to really, just door knocking is a great thing. I won't knock it. Pardon the pun there. Um, But I think that candidates need to really start thinking like, how do we reach people? Live streaming is a great way to do it because we are fighting an uphill battle. So let's shift gears a little bit and talk about what what happened on your campaign that you're like, man, I wish I wish I'd had some better resources or some better help. And let's be specific. Like, let's not talk like, I wish I had more money. Like every candidate wishes they had more money, right? So that's kind of a given. But maybe there was a challenge with keeping up with emails or keeping up with events or I don't know what happened on your campaign where if you had to have some help or some assistance in the future, you would definitely be looking for.
Well, I can honestly tell you, door knocking down here, DL, was rough
Mhm.
because we have a section of old people that was honestly still scared of the virus. And they
Mm.
put it out clear, you knock on a door, you lose a vote. I didn't
Wow.
knock on one door. I didn't
Wow.
do any door knocking. I didn't do any door to door. It was all, um, you know, YouTube, it was Facebook, it was Twitter. You know, every social media outlet I could get, that's what I hit. If I seen somebody out, they wanted to talk, I was more than willing to talk. But when you're in a community in a county that is made up probably 65% of people over the age of 65, if they say don't knock on the door, what are you going to do? Knock on the door and lose a vote? No, I don't think so.
Right.
You know, you have to. That was the one thing that probably disappointed me more than anything, because you're right. Door to door is the key. If you knock on doors, you're probably going to win. The other thing that was very disappointing was, again, the straight ticket voting. You cannot, at least I don't feel like Indiana cannot have effective local government with straight ticket voting, because you are literally cutting off that third half, and you've got a triangle that can't stand upon itself.
Right.
You know, you've got the Democrats, the Republicans, and the Libertarians are at the bottom. You cut the bottom off, what's the top going to do? It's going to collapse.
Right. So is that something that's at the county level, or is it at the state level?
That has to go through the Secretary of State.
Okay.
And I'm just going to be blunt. I don't have a lot of confidence in the Secretary of State at this time.
Gotcha. And so when you say it goes to the Secretary of State, does that mean like they need to get approval, or does that mean that it would literally be something that would happen statewide?
It would happen statewide, and the Secretary of State has to sign off on it.
Oh, wow.
I know there's been libertarians banging this in Indiana for the past 2 cycles. And it's like, we just can't crash that threshold and knock that out. You know, everybody focuses on physically winning the office or whatever you're running for. DL, there's other ways to win. You know, if the Libertarian Party here in Indiana could knock out straight ticket voting and get it completely off the books, what a victory for the state of Indiana, and what a victory for local government. Right.
Yeah. No, I agree. Sorry, I was doing something on the screen there. If everybody's, but yeah, I totally agree. And I was not here in Florida. I don't believe we have. I don't vote straight tickets, so I'm not really sure if our voting machines actually have it or not. That's very. I'm going to have to take a look, because I'm not really sure whether we have it or not in Florida. I want to say we don't, but I don't vote. I haven't even voted Republican or Democrat in so long. I don't even remember.
Your county clerk would know automatic. All you got to do is call your local county clerk and be like, hey, do we have straight ticket voting?
Okay.
It'll be a slam dunk if you do, or a slam dunk if you don't.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, I'm going to say we don't, because I get a paper ballot and then I fill out each individual hole.
Okay.
I circle every single person that I want all the way down. I don't know why I had to think about that one. Of course we don't have it. So yeah, that's I'm kind of surprised by this, because, you know, it's one of those things that I don't really hear about often. And now that we're talking about it, I'm like, you know, that makes sense. And I wonder what the Libertarian Party of Indiana, if there's any effort that they can do to try to push against that. But it seems like it would be a humongous fight.
It is, because you have, well, I really don't want to go down that road, because that's going to be a hole we can't dig out of on that one. So let's push that off. What I will say to close that topic out is we have a Secretary of State in Indiana right now that has found it, I guess, humorous to block people on social media. He blocked a whole bunch of people in the state of Indiana on Twitter, me being one of them.
Okay.
Because I called him out on the fact that he didn't show up for debates. He didn't show up for public events. He was like, well, I've got this in the bag, I'm not going. Well, I'm sorry. You can't do that. Or, you know, I mean, he won because of straight ticket voting. Let's just
Right.
be truthful. He won because of straight ticket voting. My opponent won because of straight ticket voting. Till Indiana gets that out, DL, I'm afraid, we're spinning our wheels on an uphill run.
Right.
There's going to have to be other libertarian candidates that come behind me are going to have to figure out, okay, until they get that gone, I can't physically win, but I can win in other areas.
Right. So do you think one of the answers might be Libertarian Party running people at the higher state level offices to try to help get the name up there?
We've normally our ballot access is tied to the Secretary of State race.
Okay.
For us to maintain ballot access, we have to get more than 2%. Normally we run 5. I think we've even had 7 at one point. We can't seem to break that 10 threshold for some reason, but
Okay.
we've had ballot access since 94. I
Okay.
think I would have to ask our chairman on that, but I'm almost certain that's when it started, was 94.
Okay.
We had Don Rainwater run for governor in 18, and Don just blew it out of the water. I mean, he really, for whoever runs for governor next, whether it's Don or whoever, if it's not Rainwater, man, they've got a high bar to try to overcome, because he set the bar high.
Do you happen to have any knowledge whether or not his run positively impacted local candidates?
I think it did. I really do, DL, because Don was a governor candidate that wasn't afraid to push down ballot candidates, because Don understands, like I do, if you get a solid base of down ballot candidates, that local representation is going to come up to you, and you don't have to come at the people. The people will rise to you, and you'll get better flow. I will say it over and over again. I think Don had a great impact on down ballot candidates. That's probably one of the reasons why I got 20% of the vote that year, was because of Don Rainwater.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Okay. I was not as active in the party at that time, so I've only heard the stories that he was absolutely a great candidate. No, I think, and that's one of the things that I hope to point out on this show, is getting people on from different states to kind of hear some of the challenges, so that people can start strategizing in offering, the kind of help that they need, whether that help is, hey, let's circle our wagons around a really, really phenomenal like governor candidate, because that governor candidate will then go toward local candidates getting like 20%, or maybe, obviously more, 50% plus one, so that some of them can win. Because I think that the local scene is really where it's at. I mean, there's a certain value in the upper ones, the state level ones, the federal level ones, but I think that local is definitely where it's at. Okay,
You're
so
not wrong.
that's very interesting. So, so it didn't sour you. So you didn't have a terrible experience, which means you didn't get the full Monty on the politics then.
No, I didn't. And,
which is a good thing.
No, it is. It's a great thing. If you discount the one I'm running for now, which is mayor of the town I live in, DL, I have now accomplished something probably a lot of people can't do. I have ran for all 5 major offices within the county. I've ran for sheriff. I've ran for city council. I've ran for county council. I ran for governor. And now, this year I'm tackling mayor. So, that's quite a feather in the cap, that from 2007 to 2023, I've covered all 5 major offices within the county. I've been in every one of those races, and that says something, and that brings a lot to the table for the county party, that, they've got somebody that's had, all that election experience. That brings a lot to the table.
Right. I agree. All right. So we're going to talk about that mayor race here in just a moment, but I want to take a quick break for a commercial for the Jacksonville people that are watching this show. I want to make sure that you're aware, speaking of candidates, about 3 candidates that we have running here in Jacksonville for city council. All right. So let's talk about this mayor race. Now, you've run for 5 different positions. So the critics would say, hey, Tommy, you've run for 5. You haven't won, the last 4, last 5. Why do you keep running for different ones? So what's your strategy here?
My strategy is, again, it goes back to what I said earlier. There's other ways to win besides winning the office. If I change one heart, if I change one mind, then that person that I've changed is going to talk to their friends. If they win 1 or 2 over, that's 2 more. Right. Every time I have ran, my vote total has increased.
Okay.
Let me give you an example. 2018, I ended up with 328 votes in a head-up race with a Republican incumbent. Okay.
Okay.
You jump to 2022, my votes went from 328 to 950.
Okay.
In just literally a 2-year period. So, to me, that is a win. I mean, that's really growing your support base by what? Right. Almost double? No, over double.
Almost three times.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
So you're building name recognition for not only you, but the Libertarian Party as well.
Yeah. Oh, majorly. I didn't have to deal with a Democrat in my commissioner race, and the Democrat Party approached me, and they're like, Tommy, you're a known name. We're going to back you. Okay, right. Go for it. I'm all for it. I'll work party lines. I don't care.
Right.
That was very vindicating to know that, the Democrats, who for so long had been a real dominant political force in this county, that they were going to back a Libertarian. And, they did. They done it in both 2018 and 2022. The Democrats went with me.
Gotcha. Excuse me there, folks. Had a quick cough. So let's talk about this mayor race. You're running for mayor. When is that election?
Well, mine will be in November. In Indiana. Yeah. In Indiana, we're kind of weird. We have these nasty things called 2-party primaries. And the Democrats and the Republicans, they won't invite the Libertarians because, that might put a damper on their party. So when I file, I go straight to November, and I let the Republicans and the Democrats sit back and beat each other over the head with bricks or whatever they do. I have no idea. Right. I just sit back and wait for November.
Okay. Gotcha. And so it's in November, and is it a 2 or 4-year term?
It'll be a 4-year term.
Okay. And how many people are running right now that have filed or?
Right now, there's only 2 people in the primary. They're both Republicans. And then I really don't see the Democrats putting somebody in here. So it will probably be me and whoever the 2 that come out of May. Which actually I'm kind of interested in to see how that race breaks down. Okay.
So what is going to be your selling point versus those 2, whoever wins?
Well, my selling point is why do you keep electing the same people over and over and over again and then expecting different results? Okay. In my dictionary that I have, that spells out insanity.
Okay. All right.
So it's time to break that cycle.
Right. I agree. And do you have a platform that you think people will respond to for the mayor position?
Oh, I'm glad you asked me that question. I was itching. I was hoping you was going to ask me that. First off, let me put a shout out to my campaign team. I have one of the best campaign teams that you could ever dream of. I have the man himself, Larry Sharp, as an advisor. I
right.
have Christy Mowry out of Texas.
Okay.
Tom
I've heard the
Monka
name.
out of Greene County, Indiana. I also have Joe Pascal out of, is it Virginia or West Virginia? I never can keep that straight where he's out of. Uh, I've got Chris Thrasher in there with me.
Okay.
So
Know
I've
that
got a
name.
lot. I've got a lot of heavyweights
Okay.
working with me. But what I done, DL, is I thought, you know what? And you brought this up in the first of the show. We libertarians, we pack a laundry list.
Mm-hmm.
Let's trim that down. Let's
Okay.
not give them the whole laundry list. Let's get 3 or 4. Well, what I come up with was the 4 horsemen
Okay.
of the mayor's campaign, and they are as follows. Cybersecurity again, and the only reason I say that is because of the massive global server attack that put ransomware on every server here just about a week ago. It's all over Twitter. They're
Okay.
still having issues in Rome. So that's number 1. Again, here we go with debt. Salem is a population of about 6,193 people. The city government has racked up a debt of over $28 million.
Wow.
Most of that, now to be fair, most of that come from a major infrastructure reinvestment with a modern, up-to-date water pumping stations or water treatment plant.
Okay.
So I can't really gig that.
Right.
But at the same time, DL, you know as well as I do, there's other ways to do things.
Right.
The other 2 million of that comes from, and I don't know why in Washington County all these politicians are hard up for bond loans. I don't
Okay.
get it. When you can sit down and pull the Indiana State grant book off the shelf
Mm-hmm.
and literally look up what you want to see if there's grants for it, why go a bond loan that puts more stress on the people
Mm-hmm.
when your tax base is actually, according to the 2020 census, the tax base is actually losing ground. It's not gaining ground. And neither is your revenue base. It's the job base is actually waning.
Mm-hmm.
So again, why would you put people at risk taking a bond loan?
Okay.
The third one is infrastructure, like it's been the whole time. And then my third one is economic stabilization. We have got to find a way. I'm sorry, I got a frog in my throat.
All right.
We've got to find a way to get the economy in Salem to, first off, stabilize.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure what that looks like because I'm not really going to know till I get into office and get a chance to peruse the books and actually read.
Okay.
If I can do those 4 things, and if I can explain those 4 things at a rate and a progression that people will grasp, DL, I think I've got a real shot.
Good.
Because our current incumbent mayor, this may sound a little weird to people, but Justin and I went to school together. He was a year
Mhm.
behind me in school. We've been really good friends over the years. And I had told him about 3 months ago, I'm like, Justin, don't take the bond loan. It's the wrong time to do it. You've got a recession coming next year. Don't do it. They won city council across the board, even after I went up front and told him publicly, don't do it.
Right.
So, that kind of really, I feel like he lied to me. It's like, okay, in a one-on-one meeting, you're telling me one thing, but when it's in front of the public, you're going to lie to me.
Right.
So those are my 4 horsemen. And that's where I'm going to stay. I'm going to stay right in that groove. I think that covers the full gambit. And, if they throw something else at me, DL, I'll do what I've always do. I don't use note cards. I don't write stuff down previously. I go strictly off the cuff.
Okay.
I think it provides a better presentation to the public because you're not looking down, you're looking up, and you got eye contact.
Gotcha. All right, that's fair. I like it. I like it. So you're going to be running for mayor. We'll have to check in with you. Let's see. You said it sounded like you said the primary for the Republicans was in May. Is that what I heard?
Yeah, it's the second Tuesday in May.
Okay.
Both of these candidates I know really well. Like I said, Justin, I went to school with. Jay Davison, who will run against him, his dad was our state representative for years until Steve's passing due to cancer.
Mm.
Steve and I had become really close because that family also runs a pharmacy here in town. Steve was really good friends with my dad right up until my dad's passing. And Steve and I had always talked about running against each other. Well, his health did not allow that to happen. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm really pulling for Jay Davison in this because, and I've talked to Jay on the phone, and I told him, I was like, look, I said, you got my support. I said, running against you would be like running against your dad, and that would be a dream come true.
That's a very interesting conversation to have with somebody. Like, I'm rooting for you because I want to beat you.
No.
That's what it sounded like to me.
Well, no, it had absolutely nothing to do with defeating him. That is
fair enough.
not. No, this is running Jay Davison. If he wins the primary, it's having the chance to run somebody from that family because of what his dad's legacy was.
Gotcha.
I didn't get a chance to run against his dad. I never had that chance.
Gotcha. I misunderstood.
Running against Jay would fulfill that dream, and that would be one check mark I could take off my list and say, hey, look, I've ran them. I know what that is.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, we will definitely check back in. I don't know, probably June or July, check back in, have you on, see how the race is going, and just kind of see if things have changed for you. Cause I know that sometimes, your campaign has to pivot a little bit because, things happen, whatnot, whatever, what kind of things, the tongue tied there. Goodness, rough morning for me today. Goodness gracious. I'm going to have to start getting up a little earlier and having more coffee or something. But, so yeah, we'll definitely check back in say June or July and see how things are going with you. Anything else that I've missed out? Anything that because you said you were itching to talk about it. Did I miss anything? Because if you're itching to talk about something, we want to get it in.
Yeah, there is one thing that I would like to hit kind of lightly. And this would cover everybody nationwide or republic-wide or however you want to look at it. If you are going to run as a libertarian, I have had to learn this the hard way, and it's not a fun lesson to learn. I know everybody, including yourself, Dio, when you run for office, your first thought is, oh, the grandeur of holding that office. We as libertarians don't have that luxury. Right. We can't look like that.
Right.
What we have to do as libertarians and as a party is we have to realize we have to set a reasonable goal for victory and what that goal looks like. And in the end, if we do win that office that we're seeking, instead of having one victory, DL, you have two victories because you reached your goal and then you surpassed it. Right. Real quick, I'll get into this. That's just like the upcoming presidential election. As a lifetime member of the Libertarian Party, I feel like for the last two voting or presidential cycles, we have done it wrong.
Okay.
We as a party need to soak everything we have into one state. We win one electoral vote, it changes everything. We become legitimate. Now I have nothing against 50 ballot access. Have nothing against that. Okay.
Right.
I'm all for it. But why not target fully like Mexico, New Hampshire? Get some, I say New Mexico because of Gary Johnson. Let Gary help us out down there.
Right.
One electoral vote would literally blow the top off of this thing. and we as a party would become legitimate in the presidential races and not be considered a dumpster fire.
Right.
So, that's kind of my end point right there.
Mhm.
I will apologize to any member of the Libertarian Party that I just upset, because I know I'll probably catch some fire.
You know, I wouldn't worry too much about that. There's always somebody to be upset about something. So,
But that's kind of where I'm holding right now. I've talked to our state chair, Evan McMahon. I've told him my thoughts. I am currently, for any libertarians out there, if you haven't decided who you want to support, I am actually working with Mike Termott. I really like Mike's platform. I like where he's going. I talk to Mike once or twice a week here for the last month, probably. But that's kind of where I stand on that, DL. We really need to think about focusing all of our resources, however limited they are, into one state. And let's see if 2024 we can't win one electoral vote.
Right. All right. It's a good idea. Where can people find you?
Well, right now I am, as we learned last night, Twitter is having some issues.
I think they got it resolved though.
Well, yeah, but I'm telling you what, you messaged me on Facebook last night. I'm like, wait, he never reaches out on Messenger. What?
Right.
Something's funky going on.
I went on there to look, and what was I looking for? I think I was looking for our conversation on Twitter to find out if I had already discussed which photo of you to use, which I had. I'm in the middle of getting all my graphics changed over, so I'm fumbling with that right now. But I went there and I couldn't find my messages, and I was like, and there was some other thing, and then I noticed some other things were broken, and so I was like, all right, let me go see if I can find this guy on Facebook, which I'm not on nearly as much. And so then I was like, I found you, and so because I was like, if I can't get to my messages, how am I going to send him the link for the show? Like, because that was our only means of contact. So yeah, I think Twitter is working it out and probably got it about worked out now.
If anybody is interested, especially in the state of Florida, I have a Facebook group. It's public. You don't have to send a request to join. You just join it. It's Tommy Brown III for Mayor 1776. I have really embodied that 1776 mindset. Taking things back to the Constitution, taking things back to the founding documents. I really think that's our future right now. But yeah, DL, I really appreciate you having me on this morning, man. I know it's early. I know neither one of us has had the appropriate amount of caffeine to be operating at 8 o'clock in the morning, but hey, we're doing it.
Normally I'm a little bit better, but so today's a little on the rougher side for me.
This has been an honor, because this is my first podcast within the state of Florida. Most of my podcasts are out of the state of New York. I've been on Larry Sharp's show. I can't tell. I think I've been on Libertarians Drinking Coffee 3 times now. Tim O'Connor has had me on twice. I was on the Liberty Blues podcast with Sean. So I've got California support. I've got New York support. This is my first stab at Florida. So, who knows?
I know there's a couple others.
I keep pulling these states. There may be a presidential run down the road. I don't know.
Who knows? We'll see, man. Hey, 2024 will be here before you know it, right?
Well, actually, I tell you, I really think Termott will be our presidential candidate. And then my vice president pick would be Justin Amash. I think those two together would really be a phenomenal thing. But, hey, I'm focused on winning the mayor's race, whatever that victory looks like. That's where I'm focused right now. And, I appreciate everybody's support. I really do. Like I said, people in Florida, if you want to jump on the bandwagon, now's the time, because November will be here before we know it.
Yep, it sure will. So, all right. Well, Tommy, it was great having you on. I'm going to close the show out. You hang backstage for just a moment and we'll chit chat for a few minutes after the show. All right, folks. Well, I thank you for watching. I want you to remember to join me on Tuesdays and Thursdays at bright and early 7:30 a.m. That's for the Friendly Fire series, and that's where I'm going to bring on libertarian candidates. And normally I would talk about a bill. I pick a bill and I just review it. I read some portion of it or the whole thing if it's not too long. And then I just kind of give my opinion about it. Definitely not from a lawyer standpoint, because I am just a regular, everyday, average podcasting blowhard. And then on Wednesday evenings, join me at 8:30 p.m. for Dad Talk, where I bring on everyday dads to talk about, well, what's important to them. Now, the show is going to be a little bit changed up. Tonight is actually going to be my Dad Talk series, just for this week only. Yesterday was my son's birthday, and I had to switch the episode from last night to tonight. So I will be having Michael Pickens on, and he's going to talk about getting your children to run their own business. And then finally, Friday morning is tomorrow, 7:30 a.m. for Memoirs of a Libertarian, where I intertwine stories from my life with whatever's going on in the week. All times are Eastern. And of course, you can also connect with me on various social media. Remember, if you're a champion of liberty, your business is people and your product is liberty. Have a great week. Catch you next time.